Here are some of the tools we will demonstrate as we solder some through-hole components. First, we need to clean our work area. Use the bench brush to sweep the junk into the dustpan, then empty it into the trash can. Wear safety glasses whenever the soldering irons are hot. Power on the HEPA filter whenever the soldering irons are hot. The power switch is near the floor. Make sure you are using Kester 275 lead-free solder. Wet the tip cleaning sponge thoroughly in the bathroom sink, not the water fountain. Squeeze out enough water so the sponge does not drip on the floor. When we first heat a soldering iron tip, we need to tin it. The flux in the solder cleans the oxidation. Leave some solder on the tip to protect it from rusting. The tip is mostly copper for excellent heat conductivity. The working area is plated with iron, which requires special care. A properly tinned tip makes soldering easy and slows the rusting process. When the iron plating disappears, the tip becomes difficult to use and is discarded. If you wipe all the solder off a hot tip, it will rust quickly. A rusty tip will not readily melt solder. Lead-free solder reduces tip life considerably. Increased temperatures also reduce tip life. Our Weller soldering irons maintain a constant temperature using a ferromagnetic cycle. The tip is magnetic and heat flows until it reaches its Curie point. Above this point, the heater is disconnected. When the tip cools, the cycle is repeated. Weller tips can be long or short, wide or narrow. We will use long, narrow tips for delicate work. To change tip sizes or temperatures, unscrew the barrel using forceps. You must assume the tip and barrel are extremely hot. Place the barrel on the wet sponge. Place the tip in the stand. Place the new tip in the handle. Replace the barrel. The barrel should tighten easily. If not, unscrew it and try again. The barrel does not need to be super tight. When you turn on the soldering iron, the first thing you want to do is tin the tip. A hot tip needs a protective coating of solder to keep it from rusting. Here are the pieces of the Panavice, which will hold our board and hand steady while we solder. The Panavice base is clamped to the work surface. The board holding assembly can be adjusted to many positions. The clamping mechanisms are not lubricated, so you can lean on the Panavice while you are soldering. The board holding arms move freely. The spring-loaded cam mechanism holds the board securely, but allows quick removal for inspection. Extend the spring. Place the board in the grooves on both arms. Apply a slight force while tightening the cam arm. The grooves allow you to slide the board back and forth as needed. Flip the lever, quickly remove the board, and quickly put it back. Neat. To change from landscape to portrait mode, adjust the fixed arm closer to the center. Extend the spring. Place the board in the grooves on both arms. Apply a slight force while tightening the cam arm. Flip the lever, quickly remove the board, and quickly put it back. Adjust the Panavice to a suitable working angle. Tighten the adjusting screws so you can lean on it. The Luxo magnifying light helps you see solder joint details. The base clamps to the work surface. Directly above the base is an adjusting screw to help keep the arm from falling. Next to the light ring are two adjusting screws to help keep the light where you positioned it. The power switch is on top of the light ring. Adjust the focal length for the clearest image. Let's look at some plastic properties of Kester 275 solder. As we melt the solder on the tip, notice that it does not flow to the bottom. In fact, the bottom of the tip is still clean. Melted solder has the consistency of peanut butter. It makes soft peaks like whipped egg whites. When you add a little fresh flux from the solder wire, the solder instantly turns liquid again and flows. Your solder joint needs to flow before the flux evaporates. Use an anti-static wrist strap and mat when soldering expensive or static-sensitive components. Use an ohm meter on the lowest range to find a good board ground. Locker 45 in 375 Durham is where we store our soldering tools. Below the locker is our fire extinguisher. Store the Weller soldering stations neatly on the bottom shelf. Store the other soldering tools on the upper shelf. Lock the soldering tools locker when you are finished. Review the guidelines posted on the soldering locker for important updates.